Hello, bookish friend of the internet. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Drew, and this is Drew's Ambitious Reading. And you might see this top in some of the end of the year videos because I'm wrapping up 2022 for the year, which is crazy that we're already like almost to New Year's. Sorry. But today's video, I'm very excited. I don't think I've done this video on my channel before, so this is going to be fun book tag to do. This is the 2022 reading survey, and I've seen a bunch of people done this, but Gabby from Gabby Reads, actually she had her questions down in the description box like this, so I screenshotted this last night when I was watching it, and I thought it would be a fun video to do for me. That way I can compare and contrast next year. So I think, if I remember correctly, I haven't done a video like this last year, so this is my first year doing it. There are a lot of questions here. I'm not sure how many there are exactly, but I will have my phone here. That's the way I can know what the questions are, and then I have a bunch of books to show off for you guys. So without further ado, let's just jump into this book tag and start with questions. Question 1 is, how many books did you read this year? Currently, I'm sitting at 120, I think, according to my Goodreads. Let me pull up my Goodreads to double check. Reading challenges. Oh, I'm sitting at 119, not 120. I'm at 119 as I'm filming this video right now. I'm currently reading 2 books. I know that's not a question for this tag, but I'm currently reading 2 books that I'm hoping to sneak in there. And the next one is, did you meet your Goodreads, or did you meet your goal? And as you can see, yes, I did. I read 119 books out of 100 this year, which definitely surpassed that reading goal, which I'm very happy with. I was going to change it to like 200, but then I was like, nah, I'm not going to put so much pressure on myself. So normally I do change it around this time of year, but this year, with my huge reading slump over the summertime, kind of affected me towards the end of the year as well. I didn't want to change my reading goals, so I kept it at 100, but as of now, I'm at 119 books, so yay. Most read genre, I couldn't figure this out because I don't use Storygraph, even though I should next year, but I think my most read genre is going to be fantasy, like YA fantasy or adult fantasy, because that's what I basically read from now on. Longest and shortest book you read. Thank you to Goodreads, because I use my Goodreads for this. My biggest book I read this year comes at no surprise to me. I actually thought this was going to be the first book in the series, but it was actually the second book that was a bit longer, and that is Sarah J. Maas's House of Sky and Breath, the second book in the Crescent City series. This is coming in at 805 pages, which is a lot. It took me literally like 2 months, not even 2 months, almost 2 months to read. I started this like end of April, beginning of May, so I was really happy I read it. The ending was so shocking. I absolutely loved this. As you can see from previous videos, this is in my top 10 favorites of the year, so I'm really excited for that as well. So yeah, this is 805 pages, and cannot believe I have finished this one. Sorry, my phone keeps shutting down. Shortest book I read this year was Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures Volume 3 for Light and Life by Daniel Jose Older. I was really shocked this was my shortest book, because I did read a lot of graphic novels this year, and I knew it was going to be one of the graphic novels that I read, but I wasn't too sure if it was this one or another graphic novel. Again, this is a genre that I don't really read a whole lot this year, but I'm pretty excited to dive deeper into the graphic novel world of 2023, and hopefully there will be some good ones, especially in the Star Wars universe. Also, this is like 113 pages, I think, so that's definitely shorter than 805, obviously. Favorite book published in 2022. This one was hard because I did just post my favorite reads of 2022. But my favorite books I read in 2022 was hard to narrow down just to one. So one of them are The Sunbearer Trials. Really loved this. I read this for my book club. I really loved Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older. I don't know why there's stuff on it. Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older. Read this because of Owl Crate, and Disney from Disney Books sent this to me my way. Sewing Boat Team Guides to Vampire Hunting was really good. This was a 5-star read for me. Belladonna by Adeline Grace was really amazing for me, and this also made it on my top 10 list. So those are just like a few of my favorite books, but if I had to pick one, it would probably The Sunbearer Trials. So next is favorite debut book in 2022. I couldn't remember how many debut books I read because I didn't look up my Goodreads, but the one that sticked out to me the most, and the one that I can't stop thinking about and still can't believe to this day that this was the author's debut novel, that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Soon Lin Tan. I absolutely love this book. It's also on my favorite list of 2022. But again, I cannot believe this was the author's debut novel. This writing was amazing. The food description in here was amazing as well. It made me feel like I was starving myself, even though I wasn't. But I definitely fell in love with the characters and the world. I have book 2 waiting for me at Barnes & Noble to be picked up, so I'm excited to pick that up soon. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how this duology will end. But I'm also sad to say goodbye to this series because I just literally started this book last month and I finished it last month as well. So I was really shocked this was the author's debut novel. Next is favorite book not published this year. Technically, the paperback of this was published this year, but it's like a paperback version, so I'm not really counting it. But the hardcover of this was published, I want to say 2019? Maybe? It's the copyright. 2018 is the copyright, but the paperback of this edition came out this year. And that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I think you guys saw this one coming. As you guys know, it's also a favorite book on my favorite list. And as you can see from the tabs, I tabbed a lot. So I love just tabbing my books. They are just so fun. This is very popular here on the book community world, and I was really shocked of how much I loved this because this is an adult fantasy series, and I wasn't into adult fantasy at the time, but now I am. So I'm very excited to dive deeper into the adult fantasy world, and hopefully I will love whatever I read from that genre. Next question I have is favorite book, or never mind, I answered that one. A book that lived up to the hype. And for me, there could be a lot of answers for this, but the one that lived up to the hype the most is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd installment of the Mistborn Era Trilogy 1. I really loved this. It wrapped up so perfectly with the first trilogy. And then, of course, there's a spin-off series to this that is set in the same world but with different characters, which I really am enjoying that series as well. But this series was so hyped up. Like, there's some people who loved it, some people who hate it. I was one of the few people who actually enjoyed the series so far. So I'm excited to see how it's gonna wrap up with book 7. But also sad to say goodbye to this world because I absolutely loved it, and I love Sanderson's writing. And yeah, his world building, his magic system is just so interesting. The fighting scenes, oh my gosh, they are amazing. But yeah, I think this definitely lived up to the hype. Next is a book that did not live up to the hype. Ooh, that one was hard for me to answer because I'm not too sure what didn't live up to the hype. But I have 2 books for them. Oh, I forgot to answer a book that lived up to the hype. The Star Wars High Republic series also lived up to the hype for me. This is very hyped up in the Star Wars universe, and just in like the book community as well. So this is another book that I can pick for a book that was hyped up. My bad. But a book that did not live up to the hype. I have two books for this answer as well, and they are just both stunning additions, so I'm so sad that I didn't love these. I might unhaul these at the end of the year, and that is Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. This is the author's debut novel, and I really enjoyed her writing, but there was just something like weird slash confusing with the characters. Like, I couldn't tell who was the hero, who was the villain. And this was supposed to be like a Cinderella retelling, I think, as well. But it was just one of my disappointing reads. I give this like a 3 stars, and I'm so sad too because this is a stunning addition from Algrave. A book that didn't live up to the hype for me and from my personal experience is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This, I don't know if it's because the first book, Red Rising, felt like YA to me, and then when I picked up this got more adult than I expected. But I overall was sadly disappointed. I think that's the reason why I haven't picked up Morningstar yet, because I'm afraid that one is going to be like even more in the vein of Golden Sun, obviously, because it is the 3rd book in the series. But I don't know. I think I just read this at the wrong time, and it's been a while since I read book 1 too, so I might have to reread both book 1 and 2 and just see if I would like them still. If not, I might unhaul this series. Next question is books that felt like the biggest accomplishment. I have 2 for these, and they are both adult fantasy books, which is awesome because, like I said, I didn't read a whole lot of adult fantasy until like last year, I think, or even this year. But I have 2 huge adult fantasy book. This one my friend Taylor recommended to me, and I was like, I don't know if I will like the series. But I started physically reading this in the hospital, and I physically read the whole entire thing, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. I was shocked by this book. I didn't know what it was about too much, but my friend Taylor, whenever she came and visited me in the hospital, she could not stop talking about this, because at the time when she visited me, I think she was on like book 3, and she said she loves the world, the magic system. She said if you love Brandon Sanderson, you will love this writing, but they are completely very different. Obviously they're very different writing, but like magic system is similar to it, and it's just such a fun fantasy series. I'm currently reading book 3 right now, and I'm really loving it. So this is definitely a huge accomplishment for me, because like I said, I haven't read a whole lot of adult fantasy this year, but I definitely fell in love with the genre, and this is like 700 pages, so I cannot believe I actually read the whole thing in the hospital. Next book is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. This one, if you know me, there's a funny story with it. I tried reading this back in 2020 when it first came out, and I just couldn't get into it. It was just not a good timing for me, so I set it down and didn't pick it back up until like this year, because book 2 finally came out this year. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick up book 1, read it again to see if I will like it, and I really did enjoy it. I give this 5 stars. It was just a fun, like, even though this is an adult fantasy, there was also a bit of a mix of a mystery thriller. I don't know what that sentence was. I'm so sorry. But I've really enjoyed this, and I wish I tabbed both book 1 and book 2, but I sadly didn't. But hopefully book 3 will come out sometimes in 2023. If not, I hope it's not a long wait like the ACOTAR series is. So this was definitely a huge accomplishment for me. Next question is favorite characters and least favorite characters. That is hard because I fall in love with a bunch of characters. I would say favorite characters, I really loved, even though it's my brother's name, I really loved Corbin from Malice. He was such a fun, interesting character to read from. He's dealing with the pressure of being next in line for the throne. He's also just an average boy just hanging on their family like kingdom, and there's a war going on and all that. So I really enjoyed his character arc, especially in book 3. He's definitely grown a lot in book 3, I think. So I'm excited but nervous to see how the series will wrap up. But yeah, I know there's one more after Ruin, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen in book 3 and book 4. So yeah, hopefully, again, I'll finish book 3 at the end of this week. And least favorite characters, I don't know the character's name, but the characters from Violet Made of Thorns, they were just annoying to me, especially the narrator who did it. It was kind of a high pitchy voice for the girls and the boys, so I was like, oh, come on, guys. Next question is most shocking book moment, or most shocking book or book moment. For that one, I have The Counselors by Jessica Goodman. I read this over the summer and was really blown away by it. I had a physical arc from Penguin Teen, so thank you so much, Penguin Teen, for sending me a physical arc of my way. I really enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars. It was fun mystery thriller, and like I said with Crescent City, I haven't read a whole lot of mystery thrillers this year, so when I did pick some of them up over the summer, I really enjoyed them. Like this one, I really enjoyed. So this was a shocking book / moment for me, especially if you know what happens in here. But yeah, I think this is definitely a shocking book. Another book I think was shocking, and I literally just read this one this month, so I'll talk more about this in my December wrap-up. Excuse me. In my December wrap-up. But that is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I'm not going to say why it was a shocking moment, but I'm definitely excited to talk about it. I tabbed this book so much. It's just, again, I love tabbing books. It's just so fun for me. And once again, it's a 5-star read for me, and I'm mad about this cliffhanger. And I'm hoping book 3 comes out next year as well. If it doesn't, I'm also going to be a little mad. Next is favorite couple or / OTP. That one, I don't really have a favorite couple, because again, I don't really like keep track of like favorite couples throughout the book. But I would say I really enjoyed Nick and Bree, who are from Bloodmarked or Legendborn series. But I also really enjoyed Bryce and Hunt's as the relationship. That is really fun. So yeah, those are my favorite couples. Next is the best written book you read this year. I honestly couldn't tell you best written book, but yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. I'm sorry. Book that you pushed the most people to read in 2021. I read that one. I thought it said book that was published in 2021. But for a book that was published in 2021, it was Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. For the book that I pushed most people to read, I think it's the Gilded Trilogy, or not the Gilded, oh my god, what's the first book? The Prison Healer Trilogy. I didn't know where my copy was of book 1, but I also pushed a lot of people to read this, because this is super underrated for this year. So yeah, I would say I pushed people to read this the most. Next is favorite book cover of the year. Gosh, I've been missing some question. I honestly don't know. There's a bunch of beautiful covers. Do I even have one here available? I don't know. There's just a bunch of favorite book covers. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was a question in the book tag. Favorite book adaptation. Funny enough, these are both like final books in their series, and they're also both on Netflix. But I really love the adaptation for Shadow and Bone and for Heartstopper, especially Heartstopper. It was just so cute. It was cute to read about, and it was so cute to see in person. And they got the casting amazing with this casting. They actually just finished wrapping up season 2. So did Shadow and Bone, actually. But I don't know if there's a release date for Heartstopper season 2. But I know Shadow and Bone season 2 comes out in March, and I'm very excited for both adaptation to get a second season. Next question is, what is a book that made you cry the most? I didn't cry super hard in this one, but I did tear up a little bit because I relate to one of the characters, and that is The First to Die at the End by Adam Severa. I talked about this in my favorite books of 2022. I've talked about this in my my October wrap up, and it was just so fun. Or I shouldn't say it's a fun read because it is kind of a sad book, but it was so nice to be back in this world, and it was so interesting to learn about how Deathcast came about and what Deathcast did to some people and other people didn't. But yeah, this was just a sad read, and happy that I picked it for my book club. Next question is, what is a book that made you laugh the most? This one was kind of hard to answer as well, but I looked at my Goodreads. I was like, oh yeah, this one made me laugh the most, and that is Flashfire by TJ Klune. This is the second installment of the trilogy. I haven't read book 3 yet. I'm thinking of wrapping that series up in 2023. But I just laughed in this book a whole lot, especially the dynamic between Nick, or is it Nick? Yeah? Wow. Nick and his dad, they are just super funny, and I just love this world so much, and I cannot wait to get back into it with Heatwave. What is a new to you author that you discovered this year? I didn't really discover her this year because I've read her other series, but I loved Victoria Aveyard's Realmbreaker series, so that can be one of them. Another author that I discovered this year was Gracie Kim, who is the author of the Gifted Clans trilogy. Very excited for book 3 to come out. This is book 2. This is The Last Fallen Moon. Loved this one. This was a fun middle grade to read about. Even though I did read book 1 last year, I would say I discovered her writing again this year. She's just, the writing in here is just so easy to read about, so easy to follow along and get lost in this fantasy world. So yeah, I would say Gracie Kim or Victoria Aveyard I discovered this year. And then, what is the best nonfiction book you read this year? I didn't finish it, but I did started Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mother Died Tonight, I think. I can't remember the title. You guys know what it is more than I do. I started listening to the audiobook while trying to fall asleep at night. So I was like, oh, this is interesting so far. So I haven't finished it yet, but I have a feeling, which is weird to say, but I have a feeling I'm going to like that one. So yeah, there you have it. Those are all the questions for the reading survey for 2022. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn your notification on so you don't miss any new videos coming from me soon. And if you want to do this tagged, you have been tagged. I will also leave some people down below. I'll tag in the description, so hopefully you guys can do this video, and I will love to see everyone's reading stats and their favorite and least favorite books. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys down in the comments below. Have a great day. Bye.